Well, welcome in. I'm Tony Altieri. That is Riku Mukherjee, and we are the DFS Jags. And this is your preview for, I guess we can't say PGA anymore. We got to say like professional golf because it might be the Live Tour pretty soon. The way this is trending, the way the fields stack up, Live in Portland is a much better field than the one in the John Deere.
I thought we were going to talk about the Live Tour today, not the John Deere. I mean,
I know, dude. It's actually
10 times better.
Yeah, it's like a good field. They've only got like 50 some guys in that field, but I mean, DJ Brooks, Gucci Mane. I mean, they got some guys there, and basically the best guy who was set up to play in the John Deere this weekend, Daniel Berger, withdrew. So it's basically the Webb Simpson versus everybody else who hasn't won a PGA Tour event.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the rich 40 plus years of the John Deere Classic history that the PGA Tour has. So I'll continue to talk about the PGA Tour and not the Live because we still get 100,000 and 200,000 up top on DraftKings, and that's what we're aiming for here and hitting some bets.
Absolutely. If and when the Live Tour ends up on DraftKings, we may start to talk about it, but for all intents and purposes, we are here to talk about the John Deere Classic. To your point,
it's on DraftKings this week. You know that, right?
I honestly I went in and did my submissions for my DFS for the PGA, but I didn't even look at the Live Tour. Is the Live Tour out on DraftKings? Now you want me to pull it?
They're only doing round one showdown. They don't have a full tournament DFS, but on DraftKings it's round one showdown. I think the top contest there is $15, $25,000 to first place. So not terrible, but I'm definitely going to probably make a couple lineups with people I don't even know and chuck them in there, but not really something that I'm really doing any research on.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I guess you have to treat it like you would a WGC, a non-cut event, because basically everybody continues to score. My assumption is the scoring on the Live Tour DFS is basically the same as the DraftKings one for the PGA.
Yeah, it's just showdown scoring, same as PGA.
Interesting. Well, to your point, we're not here to talk about the Live. We're not here to talk about showdown. We are here to talk about the John Deere Classic. But before we get into that, Rick, another heartbreaking runner-up style week for you, right? Cantlay and Heath.
It was a runner-up on Saturday, and then Cantlay literally went out there and played like me on Sunday. So,
dude, you see the one that he chunked on the par 3, like 100 yards short into the water?
That was weird, man. I don't think I've ever seen a professional hit a ball like that, and especially not Cantlay. The guy's a ball striking machine, and he barely got it to the water. I mean, let alone like getting it to the green. He barely got it to the water. He hit it like 100 yards.
Yeah, I mean, Cantlay implodes, and for 16, 17 holes, it looked like Sahith was going to be the guy. Like he was going to finally get his win, and then it was like repeat of the waste management. I mean, just a terrible break. I mean, in the bunker, just brutal. And then then the putt, like to actually lip out like that. I mean, it was literally gut wrenching to watch on TV because I think everybody and their mother was rooting for him to win that tournament.
Yeah, I was definitely. I didn't watch much of the golf this weekend. It was my wife's birthday, so I basically was just hanging out with her. But I did tune in on my phone on Sunday on a boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean for the last couple holes, and I saw what happened with Tagala, and I was rooting for him. I mean, he's my boy. I've been rooting for him for a long time now, and he's a fellow Indian, Southern Californian guy, and definitely wanted to see him win, but definitely, I don't disagree with hitting the driver off the tee there. Just got to kind of, he's been hitting that buttercut like all week, and that's his go-to shot, and it just didn't cut and went into the bunker and right up against the lip. I just didn't really like the decision there to try to play that second shot out of the bunker. Instead, I think he really should have, try to just chunk it out of there, which is what he did with the third shot, and just chunk it out of there, and then just try to get up and down from 50, 60 yards and try to make par there. Because if you make par there, you still got to force Xander to make birdie, which he eventually did anyway. I mean, who knows if he would have played the hole a little differently, if he was one back or, maybe went for more of an aggressive shot. But I think he should have chunked it out. And then even if he makes bogey there, you got to take double bogey out of play there. You cannot make double bogey there. So at least if you make bogey, you have the option of, the chance of still making a playoff if Xander just made par on 18. So I didn't really like that decision. I wish his caddy would have been a little bit more forceful there and try to talk him out of it. But
Yeah.
Sahith seems like the guy that is not going to really listen to situations like that. He's going to kind of do whatever feels right to him. Kind of John Rahm-esque in that kind of sense. He kind of feels like he's not going to listen to his caddy in that situation and do what he wants to do, and he did, and it eventually cost him the tournaments. But Xander, 36-hole leader, 54-hole leader, great tournament from him. I wasn't really on him. I was like all in on Cantlay on DFS, right above him. I fully faded Xander on DFS, but fully fading Xander, I had 0-0 Xander on DFS. I still ended up breaking even for the week, so definitely don't mind that. Big shout outs to Cantlay that was in there, and then I had some Tagala, I had some Cam Davis, I had a lot of guys that were up there, and it just ended up being a break even treadwater week for me on DFS. So I don't mind that when I had 0% of the winners. So time to move on to the John Deere.
Yeah, for sure. For me, very similar. Although I did have some Xander, I would have ended up much like doubling my money, but I gagged it away all in showdown. Like every day I was trying to hit a showdown just to try and get a little more juice. And I basically gagged away all my winnings, which is fine. I ended up breaking even on DFS, but again, dude, I've been on this dry spell with outright winners, man. I cannot hit an outright guy. Last year I hit 19 outright winners for the season, and this year I've hit two.
Yeah.
So it's been a very frustrating year from that perspective. Maybe it's time to reevaluate the method and how I'm selecting the guys. But obviously, you and I have been lucky enough on DraftKings to be able to break even and continue to win. I mean, you were this close a week ago from hitting a huge ticket. But hey, it is what it is. To your point, we flush it, whether it's a win or a loss, and move on to the next week. And we have the John Deere Classic, which inarguably is the worst field of the year on the PGA tournament. And it's been talked about by a lot of people, like this stretch of golf in between the US Open and the British Open. It kind of sucks. Like the fields are terrible. You've got this live event, like we've talked about earlier in the show. And then also you've got a number of guys in Europe preparing for the Open. And so they're playing the Scottish and the Irish and the BMW. And so guys are getting ready and gearing up for the British Open. And it just means there's less quality in these fields. And, for the PGA Tour, it kind of makes you scratch your head and wonder, maybe there's a better way to approach this stretch of tournaments, a better way to handle it, put a different spin on it, try and get more of the Korn Ferry guys, the young guys, the guys in college who are making the jump to the pros next year to compete in these tournaments. Nobody's watching these events anyways. You've got a few people like us within the community that are doing that, but try to get some of these young guys in there and hold on to some of that young talent, because the Live Tour is starting to eat up guys left and right.
Yeah. I don't know how much you know about the amateur ranks, but going into, just a couple of weeks ago, the number one amateur in the world was Pearson Coody, and number two was the Chikara guy. I don't know what college he went to, but Pearson Coody ended up, turning down a live deal, and he went out and won on the Korn Ferry Tour last week. And Chikara ended up, who was number two amateur in the world before he turned professional, he ended up signing with Live. So they got him, but they couldn't get Coody. And who like, why are they giving these these bottom feeder guys at the bottom of the board here, like Kevin Stadler and Johnson? Like, why are they in the field? Why can't they give out a little sponsors exemption to like Pearson Coody or some of these guys in the Korn Ferry who, could compete in this field? Like, we want to see these young guys. I would much rather them be in the field than these old farts at the bottom of the field. Ben Crane, Ricky Barnes. Like, why are these guys in the field? Greg Chalmers. Like, no, these guys should not be in the field. Put these amateurs in the field. And we just saw it last week, man. What's that guy's name? Thor Bornson.
Yeah, Michael
amateur.
Thorbjornsen.
He was lights out. He broke the Sunday slate on Showdown. Like, he shot like -6 or -7 and with an eagle, almost an albatross. I mean, put these guys in, man. This guy is he's a sophomore at Stanford. He played wonderful last week. I'd rather see these young guys, but I mean, the PGA Tour is just these old heads. They just, they just don't, they don't think about things like that. But I mean, it is what it is. I don't mind the field thing, the field strength. I understand that from a viewing perspective, it's boring, but from someone like me and you, where we're sharp and we know somebody like Adams Svensson at 7,700, where the average person probably doesn't, kind of gives us a little bit of edge on DFS, I think, and gives us a little bit better chance to cash some money this week. I mean, the money, like you said earlier this week, earlier today when you texted me, the money still pays out the same. It's not the a situation where like first place in a big GPP is like 10,000. It's still a big number, and we're still, just got to hit the right lineup. But weeks like this, I like it because, I mean, even though it's a birdie fest, I kind of still like being able to, gain an advantage on ownership and stuff like that, and take some easy pivots here where, on a stronger field week, it's a little tougher. But yeah, I don't mind it. It's just one of those situations where I just feel like I have a little bit of an edge this week, just because I know everybody in the field inside out.
Well, I mean, you've got a stretch of tournaments here, basically from the Travelers, the John Deere, the Barbasol, the Barracuda, all the way up to the Open. There's 4, and you could even include the 3M and the Rocket Mortgage and potentially even the Wyndham into that stretch. But 7 tournaments where we basically get the weakest fields of the year on the PGA Tour. It's not fun to watch for random sports fan, to your point, for guys like us who are in the know, who are in this industry, tracking stats. Like, we love this because it's an opportunity for us to be able to compete in much weaker fields, even in DFS. So there's money to be made in these fields, but make it interesting. Take some of the Korn Ferry guys, take the top 25, 50 guys in the Korn Ferry Tour and give them temporary status through this 5-7 tournament stretch, increase the pool of money, grab some guys from the amateur ranks and offer out guys who finish, during that 7 tournament stretch. If you finish inside the top 10, you're not already automatically on the PGA Tour, like, you get your card, or offer $1 million bonus or some kind of payout to make this interesting and invest in the next level of stars that are coming up through the ranks through college and through the Korn Ferry Tour.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I totally get that. I don't mind, it is what it is this week. John Deere, obviously, I mean, it's a staple on the PGA Tour. There is
history. It's a good event, to your point.
I do like the fact that next week they made the main PGA event the Scottish Open.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun with a partnership with the DP World Tour. So that field, I think, is going to be pretty good because people are going to be going there for like a warm up for the Open Championship the following week. So I definitely I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks leading up to the Open. I mean, it's at St. Andrews, one of the nicest courses in the world. So definitely like this time of the year. But yeah, the fields are weak, but we're gonna take advantage of it.
Absolutely, and we beat it to death. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We've got the John Deere Classic. This tournament is played at the same course every year, TPC Deere Run in I think it's in Iowa, not Illinois. I think I put Illinois erroneously here, but it's
same thing.
I know it's the same deal, right? Like, I feel bad. Like, if you're in Iowa or Illinois outside of Chicago, it's pretty much the same thing. Like, my boss is from Illinois, but he's from Springfield, and he's like, dude, it's basically Iowa. From basically that stretch south of Chicago all the way into Iowa, it's all the same state. Anyways, it's a par 71, basically 7,300 yards, and it's a hit and giggle. I mean, this course there's not a lot of trouble. All you got to do is, don't hit it into the trees off the tee. The fairways are wide. The greens are large. It's a fairly easy scoring event. Last year's champion, Lucas Glover, we see guys like Glover and Zach Johnson and Steve Stricker. Those kind of guys win here because those kind of guys are in the field, to the point that we talked about. But there are a good mix of young guys who we'll get into as we get into the field. But for me, in the model this week when I was building it out, birdies are better is probably the most heavily weighted thing. I want guys who can score. I want guys who can score in bunches. Good drives. I don't care whether you're pounding it off the tee like Cam Champ or you're putting it in the middle of the fairway like Steve Stricker, but you better be good off the tee and give yourself opportunities to hit greens in regulation, because it is going to play shorter, that key distance with a wedge in your hand. You want guys who are good with a wedge. Like, you want guys who are going to stick it to like 5-10 feet and have good birdie looks. And then par 5 scoring, like, take advantages of these extremely scoreable par 5s, guys who have good eagle rate, good birdie rate on par 5s. That's what you're looking for this week. Basically, you want guys who can go low, AKA a Korn Ferry Tour event, because that's basically what this is. It's a glorified Korn Ferry event, and the course is set up this way. They want guys to score. They want people to shoot 18 to 22 under, and they want people to be excited about watching these types of conditions, and these guys just go after this course. So with that being said, we'll jump into the top of the board. There's 4 guys you called. I mean, on Sunday, you said Sahith's going to be $10,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure as all get out. Webb Simpson, Adam Hadwin, Sahith Theegala, and Jason Day. I don't know how he must have got this by default. He must know somebody other than Reed Fowler at DraftKings to get $10,000, because even in this field, that is so severely overpriced. It's not even funny.
You couldn't pay me money to play Jason Day, $10,000. No, even in this field, I could.
The only reason I think he's in this field is because I think he needs to win to qualify for the Open Championship.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason. It's the only reason why.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where I don't know what happened to Jason Day. It's like he was the best player in the world, and then he was just garbage. And he just has never recovered or returned to any shape or form to the guy that he was. Anyways, I'm not playing him. You're not playing him, so we ain't going to talk about him.
Yeah.
So I guess what it comes down to is strategy for the week. You've got these 3 guys above 10K. Do you think people will end up going with a balanced build? Do you think they'll grab 2 guys above 10,000? They'll grab 1 guy and fill out the lineups? Like, how do you think lineup construction is going to break out this week?
I think it's going to be, I think the most popular build this week is going to be one of these guys from the top above 10K, and then I think everyone's going to skip the 9K range because the 9K range is awful also. So I like a lot of the guys in the 8K range as well. So yeah, for me, I mean, Jason Day automatically is a cross off for me, and between the other 3 guys, I think I'm just going to roll with Hadwin here. I know he's going to be popular. I get it. He does have good course history here. He has an 8th place finish and I think like another top 15 finish here. He's the only person with course history amongst these 4 guys. The other 3 guys have never played this course before. I think I'm going to be a big course history guy this week. I mean, the guys that I've bet, the guys that I'm going to play on DraftKings are going to be guys that have played this course before and have seen it, because even though it is a hit and giggle, like you said, I still think you need to see this course every once in a while. It's very tricky. Like at points where like there's not like a flat lie on the fairway. It's very undulated in the fairway. It's kind of like Augusta in that sense. And I like the fact that Adam Hadwin has good history here. He's gained on average like 2 strokes like on the field like every round that he's played here. Really good finishes. So I'm gonna roll with Hadwin here. I know the 10-4 is a little sticker shocky with Adam Hadwin. I get it, but he's been pretty solid this year, man. In your model, his form rank is 7th in the field. I think I'm gonna roll with Hadwin. I'm going to go back to Theegala. I'm a little worried about where his mental status is at after blowing that win on Sunday. But I checked out his Instagram story today. Seems like he's having a good time. He was at dinner with his brother earlier today and just kind of hanging out. It doesn't seem like he's taking it too hard on the chin. And I think this course sets up really well for him, man. Like a course that's not too long, and iron play is very important. Wedge play is really important. So Theegala is a really good wedge player. So I think I want to roll with Hadwin and Theegala up here. I think I'm going to fade Webb and Day and roll with those 2 guys up here.
Yeah, Day is an automatic cross off for me. I mean, if you have the stones, I'm like I said, like I talked about last week, I played him last week. I thought, hey, if he works out, I had him in about 10% of my lineups and he was god awful. I'm not going back to him again. I recognize that he still is technically a world-class guy, a major winner in this field, but he's so far from that guy that he was in 2017 when he was the number 1 player in the world. Automatic cross off. To your point, the other 2 guys in Theegala and Webb Simpson never played the course. Hadwin's played it twice. He's only played it once in the last 5 years, but both times we've seen this course, he's had top 20 finishes with the top 10. I think he finished 8th here like 3 or 4 years ago. For me, I told you this like on Sunday. I believe Webb Simpson is winning this tournament. His number is terrible ever since Berger withdrew. He's like 8, 9, 10 to 1. I cannot bet that number, but he will be my number 1 guy from above here. I, like you, think Hadwin's going to be very, very popular in terms of the guys above $10,000. I'll probably sprinkle in some Theegala as well, just because I don't think there could be an opportunity to buy low where some folks saw him kind of gag it away on Sunday and, they may stay away from him. But Webb Simpson is the guy from here. For me, Hadwin is the guy for you. And clearly, obviously, he ranks out statistically phenomenally. Everything shows up, which is why he's number 1 in the model coming into this event. But I'm going to roll with Simpson. Like I said, I'm going to stick with my my forecast of him winning this tournament, because I think he does this year.
Yeah, I don't mind the Simpson play. I just think I don't know. It just kind of scares me a little that he's never played this course before. He's playing now his 4th week in a row, I believe, and that scares me a little bit too, especially coming off of his injury from earlier this year. A little bits and pieces are scaring me about Webb Simpson this week. I think so. My site that usually gives me ownership projections is slacking a little bit this week too. They don't even have ownership projections on a Monday night, and I think if I'm going to take a guess here, I think Tagala is going to be the lowest owned in this range, just because people are going to open up their DraftKings app and they're going to just start building lineups, and they're going to be like, okay, I know Webb Simpson, kind of know Adam Hadwin, I definitely know who Jason Day is. I don't know who this guy is, Tagala. Who is he and why is he 10,100? So I don't think his name's really going to get clicked that much. So I think from an ownership perspective, Tagala is going to be a good chance to be an ownership leverage. And between Simpson and Hadwin, it's like kind of flip a coin for me at the moment. And I think I'm just going to roll with Hadwin and fade Simpson. So I think it's a tough call, but I get where you're coming from with Webb and the feelings for it. But it doesn't feel like a Webb Wyndham situation. It just feels like a Webb, because he is one of the best golfers we've seen over the last decade kind of situation. And I just hope it kind of plays out on this course for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, to your point, it's I think it really is going to come down to Hadwin and Simpson for being the heavily owned guy, the most heavily owned guy above 10K.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if it starts to get stupid where both guys are trending at like 18 to 25%, I might end up pivoting to Tagala, because I do think he's a solid play here as well, because there's more than one way to win at this course. You can try and bomb and gouge this place, or you can, hit 3-wood iron off the tee and, hit longer irons into these big forgiving greens. It's just that kind of course where you can kind of attack it from multiple perspectives. So there's not one type of course fit where it's like, you have to do this or else you're going to die on this course. It's a fairly easy course for these guys, and I think they're going to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Dropping down into the 9K level, we've got, again, more guys we're not used to seeing in the $9,000 range. I mean, Denny, McNeely, Howe, and Christian Bezaden Howe. I mean, these guys are perennial like 7K guys, and in some instances,
Denny McCarthy was 6,700 at the U.S. Open too.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, obviously that shows you the strength of field here.
Yeah,
and I do think that each of these guys has a way that they can win. If I'm picking one guy from here, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on which guy is going to end up being owned here, I think a lot of people will end up skipping this range, especially if they're going to start with 10K. They're just going to drop down. So I think there's an ownership play here. I like Denny McCarthy here. Again, we talked about, the fact that you don't have to be ridiculously long off the tee to compete or win here. If you look at the previous winners, like I said, Zach Johnson and Steve Stricker, I think have won a combined like 6 or 7 times of this event. So if those two guys can win here, a guy like Denny McCarthy can win here. But I think Denny's probably the leverage play, but also the best player here. CH3 has been playing fantastic, kind of doing what old CH3 does, which is make cuts and get top 25s. And then, Seabez, I mean, everybody kind of rode him for months, and then now it's like everybody's off of him. He's just terrible, especially after missing the cut last week at the Travelers. Like, no one's going to play him. And then, of course, your boy Mav McNeely, who we were all super hardo on early in the year, and it's just like, everybody's just over him. So I'm going with Denny here if I'm picking anyone, but to be honest with you, I'm probably going to go like most people and just end up fading this entire range.
Yeah, I could see a lot of my bills fading this entire range. I think I'm only going to play one guy from this range, and I think it's going to be CH3. I like his form. He's one of those guys that can grind out cuts, and he has good history here, man. He's played this tournament multiple times. He's one of those guys that can do it for you, and he's not really going to get you in too much trouble. Whereas the other 3 guys, I think, could easily miss the cut. I just think Howell out of these 4 guys has the best cut upside.
Yep.
And I can't believe that we're in the 9K range. We're already talking about just like making the cut, but that's kind of how it is with these guys. Like, it's hard to say that Charles Howell III can win this tournament just because he's only won like twice on tour before.
Yep.
But I think he has the most like chance to like get through the cut, whereas Dan McCarthy really sucked last week. I was really disappointed with him. I played him in my main lineup last week, and in one of my main lineups last week, and he really, really let me down last week. Maverick McNeely, I swore to myself last week that I was just not going to play him anymore, and I still played him last week, and he sucked again, and he missed the cut again, and I am just off that train, man. He is not good in any sort of course except for Pebble Beach. I will only play him at Pebble Beach, and that's it until he shows me something elsewhere. And Seabez at 9,100, I just never play the guy anyway, so I'm just not going to play him at 9,100. So, like you said, I'm definitely gonna skip this range on a lot of my lineups. But if I'm going to pick a guy here and click a name here, Charles Howell III, I don't think Charles Howell III is really going to make like my like 3 max build or anything like that, but I'll definitely have him in like my 150 max build. And if I'm going to pick a second guy from this range, I'll roll with McCarthy just because he's been playing good recently, even though it's a good like flop lag kind of situation where he missed the cut last week and has a good chance to bounce back this week. But Seabez and Matt McNeely, I'm completely out on.
Yeah, it's interesting. Mavs now missed, I think, 3 cuts in a row leading up to this event. He had a top 20 finish here last year, and statistically,
he hasn't had a top 30 finish all season. Like, I don't think he has. Like, he's just why do people like this guy so much? I don't get it.
You know what? The thing that's funny about him is statistically he rates out really, really well. Birdies are better. He's second in the field. Par 5 scoring, he's second in the field. Ball striking, he's top 15. But he sucks at putting and he sucks around the greens, which is where you score. And the guy has been not good this year. I get it. I totally understand what you're saying because I think all of us had pretty big expectations for Matt McNeely coming into this year, and the dude's just been a train wreck. But if there's one place where he could bounce back, dude, you got to think like this might be the spot. And we're so used to exactly what you talked about, where everybody's like, he sucks, we're not playing him. And then you end up putting him in a lineup and he always ends up like, somewhere between 10 and 13% ownership. And it's like, who keeps playing this guy? I do think this week he is going to be extremely underowned. And if there was ever a time that I would take a chance, and again, when I say chance, 10%, 15% maybe, like this would be it, just because the course fit and the fact that it is so easy, like I could see it. But to your point, he's just as likely to miss the cut as he is the top 10 here.
Yeah. Okay. Good luck playing him this week. He's going to miss the cut.
You're over it. All right, let's drop down into the AKs. Again, perennial 6K guys kind of peppered throughout the $8,000 range. There are a few guys that I really like here, and I'm going to give you a couple that I dig. I love Cam Davis. You and I were both on him last week. He came out of the chute extremely hot and then kind of faded down the stretch into the weekend, but still made the cut, still returned value for where his number is. I like Cam Davis this week because of the course fit. Adam Long, I was heavy into Adam Long. He had a good week last week. I will be back on Adam Long. Nick Hardy, quietly playing very, very good. His form is phenomenal, second best in this field. And I feel like it's a name that a lot of people are just going to skip right over, especially at the price tag of $8,700. But he has been playing extremely solid. And I do think that what he does well fits this course very nicely. We talked about, the fact that you've got to score. We talked about ball striking. He's number 4 in this field in ball striking. He comes in here. Here's his form. 35th 3 weeks ago, 14th at the US Open, 8th at the Travelers. This dude is trending right now, and I do think no one's going to own him at $8,700. Obviously, as the week progresses, and to your point, as ownership starts to come out, we'll start to get a feel for that. But I love Hardy here. And then the other guy that I really like that I'll probably be heavily invested in again, even though I know it's probably a terrible thing to do, but I've been riding him because he's been pretty good this year, is Patrick Rogers. I've been playing him damn near every week. Again, not at $8,800. I've been playing him at like $6,800 or $7,100, and he's been returning a lot of value. 4 straight made cuts here. He had a second place hit finish here, I think 3 or 4 years ago. So Rogers, Hardy, and Davis are probably going to be my 3 most heavily owned guys in the AK range.
Yeah, man, I really like this range. To be honest with you, it's really hard for me to cross off any names in this range. I like them all, except maybe Lanto. I never really play Lanto. I'll cross out Lanto at 8,200, but all the other guys I could really see myself getting to. Brendan Todd kind of let me down last week. He was in my cash game lineup, one of my cash game lineups, and he missed the cut last week at a course that I thought he was going to play really well at. So nice little bounce back kind of situation for him. I'm gonna go back to Lucas Glover, man. He played really, really well last year here. I have a soft spot for Lucas Glover. He was in my 100K lineup that I won the GPP with. Defending champ, playing pretty decent recently. And how is your guy in the guys in the AK range? I don't know what that means. Yeah, Lucas Glover is probably going to be my favorite play in this range. I'm going to roll JT Poston back this week. I played him last week in my big builds and stuff like that, and he played really good last week. Runner-up finish, tied T2 with Sahith last week. I'll roll with him. I like Patrick Rogers. I like the Nick Hardy call. I like the Adam Long call. Man, these guys have been playing really well recently. The flyer for me in this range, and it's kind of a situation where he can just, we're just so used to him being boom or bust, is Cameron Champ at 8,000. He's one of those guys that can just kind of tear a course apart with his length, and we've seen him do it. We've seen him, have terrible form coming into tournaments and just win them randomly. So that's definitely going to be my flyer in this range. But I think my highest owned guys are going to be Glover, Poston, Rogers, Adam Long. Like those are going to be my highest owned guys here. I know the Cameron Davis love. I get that. He played really bad on the weekend, like really bad. Like he lost in every category on the weekend last week, which scares me a little bit. But Cameron Davis is also one of those guys that you got to expect that from. He rarely ever puts 4 rounds together.
Yep.
He puts like 2 or 3 rounds together. And if he can put 4 rounds together in a weak field, he's going to win the tournament. We know that about Cameron Davis. The guy is lights out when it comes to, putting it down a good score for a single round. We just need him to put 4 rounds together. So I really am going to pepper this range. This is going to be like the majority of my lineups are going to concentrate on this range. And I think the only name that I'm going to completely cross off and completely fully fade is JT Poston. And I think I'm going to play everyone else. We didn't even talk about CT Pan. I think this course suits CT Pan perfectly. A little bit scary with a couple recent withdrawals and stuff like that, but I don't mind going back to CT Pan if he's going to play.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me a little bit about Pan is his course history isn't great here. Statistically he rates out okay. He's good off the tee. He's very good from that 150 to 175 range, so just outside that wedge range for him. His form hasn't been great, and to your point, he's withdrawn a couple times. So, I wonder about his health a little bit. But again, when you talk about the long-term form for him, what he does well, and from a course fit perspective, again, I hear everything you're saying. The only guy that I'll probably end up fading completely from this range is probably going to be Lonto, and it's just because he just has not been good this year. He's one of those guys, and I think Rick Gaiman's got the rule, like if he's above, I think it's like $7,100, you don't play him. If he's below $7,100, you absolutely play him every time. Yeah. And at $8,200, I can't see going back there. And I love the Champ call. I'm with you on Champ. I will have him in my lineups and playing him from a boom or bust perspective. I will also be betting him this week.
Yeah, me too.
He will be on my card. This just feels like the type of event where he shows up out of nowhere and ends up winning it and then goes right back to being horrible again the next week.
Yeah, he could also miss the cut too. So he's just that boom bust kind of situation with Cam Champ. From a course history perspective, for the guys, for our fans out there listening, the 3 guys in this range that gain more than a stroke on the field total and average weighted out per round, we're looking at Patrick Rogers gains about 1.1 strokes, Adam Long gains about a stroke, and Lucas Glover, he won last year, but 1.4 strokes. So those are the guys that are, from a course history perspective, play really well at this course. So I'm definitely going to be happy on those guys, Rogers, Glover, and Adam Long. I really like those calls.
Yeah, to your point, Glover ranks out number 1 in terms of tournament history, right? Because we're only going back 4 or 5 years. We're not looking at the last 10 times this thing has been played, but recent history here, he ranks out number 1 just because he's got the victory. He's got a top 10, he's got a top 25, and then consistently gaining on the field, to your point, in terms of strokes gained. Number 2 is Patrick Rogers right there. He's got a second place finish, a top 23, a top 27, and then a 43rd finish, 4 straight made cuts out of the last 5 years. And then Stalding, surprisingly enough, is right there. He's in inside the top 15 from the course history side of it, with a top 5 finish and a couple top 20s mixed in there. 4 out of 5 made cuts here over the last 5 years. So those 3 guys in this range rate out the best. Long is right there. He had a top 25 finish here last year. And of course, his form has been very good coming in. So to your point, I think this is probably where all of the ownership is going to kind of trickle to. People are seeing the same things we are. And I just think this range is going to be heavily peppered. And because so many of these guys are going to be in play this week and so many people will be clicking all of these different names, I don't think you're going to see one guy end up ridiculously over-owned.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be balanced throughout this range, and I think you can go after and play as much of these guys as you want to without fear of, basically playing a super chalky guy.
Yeah, I think I think the ownership in this range is going to be very flat, except for maybe like Poston and Todd, and like those guys might be a little bit lower owned. But I think like the guys that we're talking about, they're all going to be higher owned than the highest owned guy in the 9K range. I really
100%.
think that. I think Lucas Glover, JT Poston, Patrick Rogers, I think all these guys are going to be higher owned than CH3 or Denny McCarthy. So I definitely, if you're trying to, like, from a lineup construction perspective, build differently, definitely you're going to want to click on names in the 9K range. But most people are going to skip the 9K range and come down here. So just know that the ownership amongst these guys is going to be flat, but there's going to be higher than the 9K range.
Absolutely. Dropping down to the 7Ks, this is where we get into, I guess, the majority of the field, the 6 and 7Ks, more than half of the guys, obviously, with the limited number of guys in the 10 and 9K range. This is where you're going to find everybody. But there's value here. This, I think, is as strong. There's some arguments to be made that there's guys in the 7K range that should have been priced at 8K. But you can't have everybody at $8,000. And so we end up with a pretty big $7,000 range. We've got a number of previous winners here. But Rick, why don't you take the hop on this? Give me your guys you like in this range, and then I'll jump in the pool after you this time.
Yeah, sure. Above 7,500, I'm all in on Adam Schenk this week. He is one of the best course history guys here. He gains about 2 strokes per round that he's played here. Good finishes here, and he's been playing really well recently. I really love Adam Schenk in this range. He's definitely my favorite play above 7,500. I like John Huh. He played really good last week, T13 at the Travelers. His ball striking has been coming around. His form has been absolutely phenomenal. He's number 1 in form rank on your model. I love John Huh up here. Ches is an interesting situation. He played last week. We played well last week, but I think he just played well last week because he's really good at the Travelers. I just don't think he's been good anywhere else. So I think I'm going to be out on Ches. I think he's going to be popular. So I think I'm going to be out on Ches from that perspective. And then Svensson has great tournament history here. Number 2 overall in your model. I love Adam Svensson this week. So my favorite plays are up here are going to be Schenk, Huh, and Svensson. And then Fratelli, he's been really bad recently.
Previous winner, though.
He won here a couple years ago. I think he needs to win to get into the Open Championship. So I don't mind that from a boom bust perspective, like we were just talking about with Cam Champ. He's one of those guys that can either miss the cut like he did last year or gain 15 strokes on the field like he did the year before. So I don't mind Fratelli from a GPP kind of perspective, but my main concentration core up here is going to be the 3 guys I named: Svensson, Huh, and Schenk.
Yeah, Svensson, just to do a little bit of a deeper dive on him, you mentioned he's number 2 in the model. He's played this tournament once in the last 5 years as a top 25 finish. And then again, his form coming in, I don't think the guy's missed the cut in like 5 or 6 events. He's had a couple of top 25s back to back in the RBC and the Travelers. And then statistically, he rates out really, really well over the last 36 rounds coming into this event. He's number 10 in approach. He's top 15 in birdies or better, 2 of the key metrics for me. So I'm going to be heavily owned on Svensson. And he's just one of those guys, like, if you're looking for made cut equity, and I think down in the 7K range, that's where you need to be kind of circling in on as guys who will make the cut and play the weekend. He probably presents the best value in terms of making the cut of anybody down in this range. Other guys that I like, just to throw a couple names out there, that I think will be under-owned. Martin Laird and Nick Taylor at $7,500. Both of the guys rate out really well in the model. Both guys have good course history. They rate out well statistically, and they've had pretty good form coming in. And again, these are two names that are not popular. Sevenson and Shank and Smalley, just from a name perspective for the types of people that are going to be playing DraftKings this week, they're just going to be more heavily owned.
Yeah.
So Laird and Taylor are good, from my perspective, good ownership plays. If you want guys that'll make the cut, again, made cut equity, Steve Stricker and Zach Johnson, 7,400.
I was gonna save the Steve Stricker and Zach Johnson conversation for later, but we can get into it.
Yeah, I mean, again, from a made cut standpoint, these guys are basically the ambassadors for this tournament.
Yeah.
Zach Johnson, at whatever he is, damn near 50 years old, he finished second here last year. So, these are guys that just, again, you mentioned it, Rick, how course history is going to be an important, it should be a factor this week. These guys just, they play well here. And I'm sorry, he didn't finish second here last year. It was Ryan Moore.
Yeah, you're looking at Ryan Moore. Yeah. I was like, right below him.
They're right next to each other. Yeah, but Zach Johnson, again, he's a guy that's made 5 cuts in a row here with a top 5 and a bunch of top 20s. So he's a good play if you're looking for that. And then a couple of the names just to throw you that I think could be interesting. Scott Brown always plays well here. Course history, very, very good. And then again, no one's going to own him at $7,000, but Ben Martin, if you need a guy at $7,000, 4 or 5 years ago, he finished in second place. He's coming off a couple made cuts. And again, Ben Martin's nothing spectacular, but he is steady. And if you look at the kind of guys like Stricker and Zach Johnson, steady is an adjective that I think I would use to describe both of those guys. So Ben Martin at 7K, I think, is a pretty good play as well in terms of just making the cut.
Yeah, so let me just quickly talk about the Steve Stricker, Zach Johnson, and Ryan Moore thing. So between those 3 guys, Stricker, for the people that don't know this tournament that well, I think they have like 5-6 wins between those 3 guys. Yeah, 6 wins between those 3 guys at this tournament. I don't mind playing Stricker in DFS. I was thinking about betting him actually earlier, but I'm going to lay off on the bet. I don't think he can actually win the tournament, but
I wouldn't advise that.
Yeah, but 7,400 for Steve Stricker. The guy just, he almost won the senior. I think it was the PGA Championship last week.
PGA or US Open last week? I can't remember.
One of the two, I don't know. But Patty Harrington won. Steve Stricker gave him a little run for his money on Sunday. So definitely don't mind the Stricker call. He's playing pretty well. I think I'm going to be out on Zach Johnson. I just don't like the form recently, even though this course suits his eye really well and it's short. I'd rather play between those two at 7,200. I think I'd rather play Ryan Moore. I think his upside's a little bit better. So I'll sprinkle some Ryan Moore and Steve Stricker into my lineups for DFS purposes. But the main guys for me below 7,500, I'm going to go. I know you hate it, but I'm going to go back to my boy Goddard up at 7,300.
You love Goddard up. You love you some Goddard.
I'm turning into one of those guys that plays him every week. He really is a good player, man. And I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt until he I'm going to give him a pass on the RBC Canadian when everyone was heavy on him because it was his first tournament and he was pretty nervous and stuff like that. But he made the cut at the US Open. He made the cut at the Travelers last week, played really well. I played him in a couple showdown lineups. I was heavy on him on the main slate. So I'm definitely going to go back to him. Hank the Tank Lebioda at 7,300. He has good course history here. He's been playing pretty well recently. The only other guys that I like down here I was looking at were who was it? Oh, Patton Kazire at 7,400. I don't mind. He plays good. He plays well here. And Smotherman at 7,000 flat. I don't mind. Chad Ramey at 7,000 on Matt. Those guys are like new to this course, so I'm not too high on them, but I don't mind sprinkling those young guys in. Charlie Hoffman at 7,100 is a little intriguing. He played.
You love Charlie Hoffman.
I do.
I have a Charlie Hoffman problem.
I do definitely have a Charlie Hoffman problem. I played him in one of my main lineups last week. He made the cut and grinded it out, but he's been playing better recently. I think he's finally over his injury. So at a short course like this, I don't mind the old man there. Ryan Armour played well last week. He was a late add to the field.
Yeah, last man into the field.
Yeah, last man into the field. He made the cut. He played really well on the weekend. Yeah, I don't really. These are just kind of like naming names, to be honest with you. But I think my highest owned guys in this range are going to be Goddard, Lebioda, and Kazire. Lashley, I don't mind. He's 14th in your model. That's a pretty good call. Sam Ryder is 12th in your model. That's a good call on him also. But yeah, it's just kind of pick your poison down here. I'll kind of have to wait and see how ownership kind of comes through here, and see if there's someone that comes out super chalky. If there is, maybe it'll be a good spot to pivot to somebody less chalky.
Yeah, the guys for me in this range, at 7,800, Laird at 75, Taylor at 75. I will have some Stricker sprinkled in, Kazire at 74, Ryder at 71, and then, like I mentioned, Ben Martin and Scott Brown at the flat 7K if I need to go that low in this range. So those are the guys for me here that I will definitely have sprinkled into my lineup.
What do I have to do to convince you to play some Goddard up?
Dude, I don't mind him, to be honest with you. You saw I snuck him into a lineup or two last week when I did my 20 max build. So I will probably sneak him in like you. He is trending. You mentioned it. He's got a couple finishes here. He's moving in the right direction. If we're talking about a glorified Corn Ferry Tour event, which this of course absolutely is, why not Chris Goddard up? And again, yeah. I fully sanction it. But he won't be one of my main guys, but I definitely do think I'll have him sprinkled in some lineups this week.
Yeah, man, he gained last week at the Travelers. He gained across the board, except around the green. He was pretty shitty around the green last week, but I don't think that's really that important this week, especially at a short course where I think it's going to be easier for these guys to hit greens with wedges in their hand almost on every hole. So I like that. I like that. That situation where greens and regulations are going to be high at a high clip for most of these guys, and he's not the greatest short game guy. So I don't mind the call on Goddard up at 7,300.
Well, I mean, to your point, he rates out well in the model because statistically, the key stats that we identified, again, only 7 measured rounds, but top 30 in approach, top 30 in putting, top 30 in birdie or better, top 25 in ball striking, top 20 in par 5 scoring, top 20 in the key wedge distance from 125 to 150 yards in terms of proximity. Yeah. So again, he's one of these young guys that the stats and the models absolutely love because he seems to be a pretty good ball striker. Again, we've only got 7 measured rounds and this is a pretty crappy field. But with all that being said, stats, and if you're hitting fairways and you're making putts, like it's just going to come out in your favor. So I don't think that he's the craziest guy to play, and it's always better to be early on these guys than it is to be late. So this could be a great situation where you get a guy who could be a future star in the PGA or the Live Tour, who knows, at some pretty low discount in a field that's absolutely terrible.
Yep. All right, let's get to the dumpster.
Time to get dirty. It's pretty terrible here. But again, if you're making a build where you've got a guy in the $10,000 range, potentially maybe even 2, you're going to have to dip down here. But there are some guys that I think are worth a throw. And I'm just going to be leaning heavily on what the stats are telling me and the model says. So the 2 guys for me that I'm going to throw out there, Vaughn Taylor, again, he's a PGA stalwart. He has very good course history here. The key stats are good for him. He's made a bunch of cuts in a row. So that's why he's top 15 in the model. So Vaughn Taylor at 6,800. The other guy that I like is Chris Stroud. Again, from the course history perspective, he has very good course history, has not been very good this year. The other guy that I'll throw out there, and it's a name that we all saw at the RBC Canadian, is Jim Knaus. He rates out 24 in the model. And again, Knaus, he's a Midwest guy. This could feel like a home game for him. So I could see going to Knaus, but those are the 3 guys for me kind of at the different ranges. Above 6,800, I like Vaughn Taylor at 68, Chris Stroud right at 65, and then below 6,500, Knaus is my guy in that area.
Yeah, I don't mind the Vaughn Taylor and Knaus calls. I don't ever think I've ever played Chris Stroud in DFS before, so I'm not going to start now.
I can't remember the last time I played him.
I don't think I ever have. I like the guys at the top here at 6,900. Lee Hodges played really well last week. He was right in the mix going into Sunday. Had a bad Sunday round, but I'm gonna give him a pass on that. Hayden Buckley, the guy was literally in contention for 60 holes at the US Open in a much stronger field 2 weeks ago. So I don't mind going to him at a hit and giggle Corn Ferry event here. So definitely like both of those guys up top. Now, let me talk real quick about 6,800 Bill Haas. This guy, it literally makes the cut every single week, and he's usually making the cut at like 6,100, 6,200. My friend Greg, who's a fan of the show, he's been telling me to play him every single week. He's been playing him every single week and getting paid off. I just haven't been playing him. I'm going to play him this week. I think at a course like this where it's nice and short, wedges, the guy's form has been for a I don't even know how old he is, 50-year-old guy. His form has been really phenomenal recently. He just grinds out cuts. At his age is really phenomenal. So I will definitely play some Bill Haas in this range, especially if I actually decide to dip into this range for my lineups. I might not really dip into this range, but if I decide to do that and try to be a little different, I don't mind sprinkling a little Bill Haas in my lineups to round out as the last man in. So I think those are my three favorite plays: Hodges, Buckley, Bill Haas, Vaughn Taylor. I like those calls. Kelly Craft at 6,700. He's been lights out with his approach play recently, and he's been lights out with his putter at this course, particularly in the past. So if we can have a little, he made my betting card. So if he can, I mean, the 200 to 1, but yeah, if we can have a little marriage of his approach play recently and his putting performance at this course in the past, I could see him being in contention. I don't really like anyone else. I'm just kind of scrolling through these names. Lingworth played well a couple weeks ago at the Memorial, but that just might be because it's the Memorial and he loves that golf course. So I don't know if I could really go back to him. Nobody really else is. Trey Mullinax at 6,500 is a little interesting, but not really. I don't really have anyone else, man. I mean, do you have anyone else that you're looking at here?
A couple names farther down the board just from a course history and statistical perspective, but there's three guys at 6,200: Sean Stephanie, David Hearn, and Robert Garrigus. Again, if you follow the PGA Tour, these are names that you've heard probably for 15 years. They play this course almost every single year. They've got those between the three guys. They've got 4 top 25 finishes. So again, at $6,200, like, you're really just throwing darts. But those guys statistically, like Garrigus, in only 20 measured rounds, he rates out really well on approach, par 5 scoring, and ball striking. But again, you really have to be careful down here playing these guys this low. If you can stay above the $6,500 threshold, I think the quality of the guys is much better. Yeah. I mean, even names like Streb and Whaley, right in that area where Lingworth are, like, they're guys who play a lot. Brian Stroud is, a fairway finding machine. Justin Lower was a guy who a few weeks ago here was playing very, very well. So these are guys above 6,500 where I think you've got a little more opportunity to make the cut. But again, there's a reason why in this terrible field, we've said it multiple times, these guys are in the dumpster. It's because they're pretty terrible. And so if you can stay away from these guys, you're going to be in good shape. You know who I'm so disappointed in that I thought would be pretty good this year that's just been god awful?
I know it is, because I was just about to bring him up.
Who is it?
Doc Redman.
Yes, dude. What happened to Doc
Redman? I was just about to ask you. Literally, our minds are clicking.
What happened to him, dude? He was like one of those guys that was getting ready to make the jump, and he just has been terrible.
He finished runner up to was it Bryson who won the Rocket Mortgage a couple of years ago? Yeah, he finished runner up to him at the Rocket Mortgage. He was like perennially like playing well and getting top 20 finishes early last season, and then he just fell off a cliff. Like, no injury, nothing like that. He just got really bad, and I don't know what happened to him. He's coming in here with like multiple miscuts in a row, 4 miscuts in a row, or 5 miscuts in a row, something like that. I don't know, man. It just seems weird. 6,700, something happened to him where he just lost, maybe he got the yips or something like that. But yeah, man, I was just about to ask you the same question. Literally, it was on my mind, like, as you were saying that. I'm like, I know exactly who he's talking about. And yeah, man, I don't know what happened to him. I'm not going to play him, but he's one of those names that, had good potential a year and a half ago, and maybe at a short course he can regain some of that form. But I need to see it from him first before I click that name again.
Yeah, him and Harry Higgs. Those are the two guys that I'm like, what happened to these two guys? Like, it felt like they were getting ready to make a move. I think Higgs was in contention in the one that Stuart Sink won, one of the tournaments last year.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ever since then, he's just been god awful. So I don't know. Maybe one of those guys can find lightning in a bottle this week. Who knows? To your point, I'm probably not going to be playing either guy. So.
Yeah, me either. I'm going to throw one more name out there for you guys. I don't think we've ever mentioned him on the show before, but at 6,300, Patrick Flavin is a guy that
Flavin.
Flavin. He was on the Corn Ferry Tour last year. Pretty solid Corn Ferry Tour guy. This is one of those guys that routinely qualifies for PGA Tour events on Monday, like Monday qualifying. This field is so bad he didn't need to Monday qualify. He just got into the field for how bad this field is. But he's a guy that could potentially have some upside at 6,300. Just a complete dart. You could have like 2% of him and be overweight on the field. So not a bad guy to maybe have in a couple lineups.
Yeah, I won't be there on him. I'll probably more likely to play your boy Tommy Two Glove Gainey, right? Didn't he get in trouble? Like, wasn't he like a sex offender or something like that? Maybe I'm just projecting it on that poor guy, but he wears 2 gloves, so that means he's probably messed up in the
head. Yeah, I don't know if he got in trouble. I know the only guy down here that got in trouble was Robert Garrigus for weed, but that's it.
Yeah, which seems terrible. That and having a huge sweaty ass. I remember there was a tournament here like 5 or 6 years ago. He had these gray pants on. It was just like, it looked like somebody poured a bucket of water down the back of his pants.
What happened? I thought he was supposed to go to live, Robert Garrigus.
Yeah, I think they revoked his invitation.
They're like, this guy's so bad we can't even have him on the live tour.
Yeah, I think he declared to go to live, but I don't think he ever
got an offer.
Yeah, he never had an offer to go there. All right, man, let's get at our bets for the week. For me, dude, I waited way too long. I jumped in after Berger had pulled out, and all my numbers are absolutely terrible. I'm going to wait on some bombs for the week because I think the numbers are going to get bigger as the week stretches on. Here on a Monday, I think there's going to be some massive adjustments, and I think there even could be adjustments to some of the guys on my main card. But Tigala, Cam Davis, McNeely, McCarthy, Stallings, Cam Champ, and Lipsky. Lipsky's a pure. I just play him. I bet him every week. I mean, he basically has become my new Seabass, where he's on my card every single week, and I think there's value. Honestly, the one that I'm probably the most excited about is the guy that we talked about, is Cam Champ at 40. I think that number opened at like 60 or 65, and you can actually find it out there on my card. It was 40, but I think that number is going to get better as we get closer to the week, and I think there's a legitimate chance that Cam Champ wins this week.
Okay, yeah, I don't mind the card. I like the calls there. I'm taking a little different approach this week. I'm not betting anyone at the top this week. I think this is a week where you can actually pick the right guys as far as a long shot goes and hit a winner here. So I'm going to start my card off at 50-1 with Lucas Glover, Adam Schenk at 60, Doug Gim at 60, Poston at 55, Cameron Champ at 66, Fratelli at 40, Kazire at 75. And then I got Hank the Tank at 100, Lashley, Ryder, got her up at 130, Ryan Moore at 130, Lee Hodges, Hayden Buckley, Kelly Craft. These are all bombs for me. Very, very little sprinkles, $5, $10 on these guys, and maybe hit a winner there. Do you have any thoughts on any live bets or anything this week? I have the odds pulled up here. Do you have any leans or anything like that?
You know, I looked at it. It's so top heavy. The numbers are terrible, dude. I mean, basically you've got like 10 guys at sub 20, and then everybody else is these massive numbers. And it's not a board that favors where I like to bet. You know where I like to live. I love to be in kind of that 25 to 50 range. Yeah. And there's not a lot in that range in this bet. Yeah. If I was to gut check one and say who I think was going to win, I would say I would pick Taylor Gooch. To me, he's the most steady guy. So I'd say Gooch is probably the guy I like the best.
Yeah. For just picking a winner for me is tough. I don't really know anything about the course or anything like that, but I kind of like this guy, this South African guy who finished second at the first event, Henny Duplessis.
Yeah, he made more in that one event than he made his entire career.
Yeah, I'm seeing a nice 40-1 number on him this week. Not a bad number. I think I could probably sprinkle a little bit on that this week. So I think that's the only bet that I'll make this week is Henny Duplessis. But from the top, these guys, I don't know. Bryson has been putting out a lot of videos recently on his social media where he's just like literally crushing the ball, and it seems like his hand is finally healed up. So Bryson, maybe I kind of need to see him put some good rounds together, because even after he came back on PGA Tour, he was god awful. So I think the only bet that I'll make on the Live Tour this week is 3,300 Henny Duplessis, or 40-1 Henny Duplessis.
It's not a bad call, but we also have the Irish Open going on, which is a pretty good field.
That's a good
Shane
field.
Lowry, Seamus Powers, Terrell Hatton, Thomas Peters. We saw losing a playoff to Hotong, who cussed on live TV, and everybody.
Dude, he was awesome last week. I love that guy.
Oh, dude, you know what? I didn't realize he spoke such good English.
Yeah, he speaks really good English.
Yeah, number one. And then number two, for him to lose his mind the way that he did, you got to love it, dude. The guy's been struggling for like 3 or 4 years.
We haven't seen him since he was hitting balls in the dark after he was first round leader
at Harding Park.
Yeah. So we haven't seen him anywhere. But yeah, man, he was fired up last week, cursing on TV. I love it. I love the fire from that guy.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see a guy who, to your point, has been just, absolutely in the toilet for 3 years.
Yeah.
To see a guy like that win an event. And the BMW is a stout event. This is the one that Billy Horschel won last year. Very difficult course, a very stacked field. Hotong wins it. It's a huge win for him. It propels him obviously back into the world, top rankings in terms of OWGR. But I was just happy for the guy, genuinely happy to see him win. Genuinely happy to your point to see the emotion, right? Like, it was just a great win. And the finish, that last hole, like if you've watched the replays and if you haven't, just go to Twitter and go watch like his last 4 shots were freaking unbelievable. Awesome, the putt that he hit was just a bomb.
Yeah, right in Thomas Peters' face. And Peters was happy for him, man. He was like,
they're buddies.
They're buddies. Yeah, he was like happy. I'm just kind of looking at this odds board for the Irish Open. I see a 50 to 1 on Bobby Mack. That's a pretty good number, I think.
50 to 1 on Bobby Mack is good.
1. Yeah, 50 to 1 on Bobby Mack in this. He's probably one of the top 10 players in the field. That's not a bad number for him. I like that. But yeah, obviously the big name at the top here is Shane Lowry. I think he's hosting it maybe or something like that. But
yeah,
he's the main guy.
Last year, didn't he? Didn't he win it last year?
I don't know.
I don't know
the answer to that question.
Last year. Anyways.
Yeah. But I don't mind Bobby Mack at 50 to 1. But yeah, that's all I really got this week.
Yeah, I like Herbert at 28 on my board.
That's who won last year. Lucas Herbert won last year.
Yeah, I like Herbert at 28. I like Bobby Mack's 40 on my board. I still like it at that number. And then really outside of that, there's nobody else. Maybe a top 10 on Mikko Korhonen. Like that guy always finishes top 10 like every week on the DP World Tour. So and then Guido's at 55. He's been terrible this year, but
he played all right a couple weeks ago at the US Open.
Yeah, at the U.S. Open he played well, but the rest of the time he's been dog shit. So I don't know what his deal is, but Guido at 55 maybe, but I won't be heavily invested in either the Live or the Irish Open this week.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to watch much golf this weekend. It's 4th of July weekend, but hopefully Cam Chang can come through for both of us this weekend, and we can hit a double winner on the show.
Absolutely, I love it. Big shout out to America. Happy birthday, America, this week, 4th of July. Also to our brothers across the border, Canada Day or Canada Day or whatever the hell it is. That's happening as well this week. So, go out, celebrate, burn some stuff, light some fireworks, eat some charred food off the grill.
Don't blow your hand off.
Yeah, don't blow your hand off. Don't do like what was the guy's name? The defensive end,
Jason Pierre-Paul.
Oh yeah, he's got the ET fingers now, right? Like he's got them wrapped like this. Anyways, don't do that. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. Hit a winner. Follow us. Make sure you like, subscribe, and tune in each and every week to all the shows. We got a bunch of great content coming out on the Nickel City Mafia channel. So make sure you follow us, and so that way it just finds its way into your feed. So all you got to do is click the notification.
Fantasy football right around the corner. Me and Chris are going to be coming out with some shows.
Yep, we've got a ton of fantasy football content coming out. Mike's running a show about the AFC East and the biggest threats to the Bills this year. So ton of football getting ready to kick off as we go full swing into the NFL season on the Nickel City Mafia channel. But I'll still be doing golf. You'll still be doing golf because this is what we love to do.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyways, Rick, thanks again, man. Thanks to you guys that chimed in and left comments. Remember, like and subscribe. Follow us on social media. And good luck this week.